Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be unpacking something incredibly fascinating from our source material today, something called the caregiver's paradox. You know, when the temperature drops, our immediate instinct is to create this super warm, cozy environment for the pets we absolutely love. But what happens when our very best intentions actually cause harm? Well, today we're looking at how our everyday human winter habits might be causing our cats to silently endure kidney strain, chronic pain, and just sheer fatigue. So think about this for a second. Do you just kind of assume your cat experiences the cold exactly the same way you do? Like when you feel a chill, you crank up the heater, right? You indulge in some extra comfort foods. You might even completely avoid going outdoors because it's too brisk. And we automatically project these very human solutions right onto our cats. We think we're protecting them, for sure. But this assumption is the exact root of the problem.
Okay, let's dive into this because there is a stark contrast between human coziness and feline reality. For us, the absolute ideal winter scenario means blasting the central heat, eating extra treats, maybe lighting some seasonal candles. But that exact same environment that brings us so much joy, it's literally creating a stifling, borderline toxic bubble for our cats. Instead of comfort, they're experiencing overwhelming fatigue, exposure to airborne toxins, and throbbing joint pain. So let's break down exactly how this happens. Section 1. The winter coziness trap.
There's this crazy biological chain reaction that happens the moment the seasons change. It starts simply enough with decreased activity. During those colder, darker months, cats naturally just move less. But the real problem kicks in at step 2, when we keep their caloric intake exactly the same. Or actually, scratch that. It's worse when we feed them extra winter comfort portions. Because they're burning way fewer calories, that extra scoop adds up super fast. It puts immediate physical stress on their joints and their heart. This leads to systemic inflammation, which finally results in profound fatigue. So, you know that winter moodiness you see? It's very often an inflammatory response to overfeeding. So, how do we fix this whole situation? Well, the answer is incredibly straightforward. Just keep their portions consistent with their lowered activity level. If you want to give them a winter treat, you've got to focus on quality, not quantity. Simply serve their regular wet food, but warm it up slightly to their body temperature. This mimics natural prey, radically boosts their hydration, improves their digestion, and it honestly just helps them feel full without packing on destructive empty calories. And that brings us to this incredibly important number, 10. Have you noticed your cat sleeping way more in the winter and just assumed, oh, they must need the rest? The truth is, they're likely sleeping out of sheer boredom. A still, quiet, wintered-in house totally strips away their natural hunting routines. But literally just 10 minutes of highly focused playtime twice a day can completely cure this winter boredom. You don't need hours. Just 10 minutes with toys that mimic real prey, like a feather wand or a little moving mouse, is enough to keep them active and prevent those destructive, stress-induced behaviors. But there is a crucial rule to this 10 minutes, and it's all about triggering feline dopamine release. See, cats are biologically hardwired to stalk, chase, and pounce. When that instinct gets frustrated, their stress hormones skyrocket. To trigger this vital chemical response, you absolutely must let your cat physically catch the toy at the end of the play session. Letting them win washes their brain with chemicals that leave them feeling genuinely calm, confident, and just deeply content. Section 2. Hidden hazards in air. To keep the freezing cold out, we naturally seal our homes up incredibly tight, but doing so completely traps stale air, dust, microscopic allergens, and carbon dioxide inside. In a sealed winter environment, a cat's highly sensitive respiratory system has to work twice as hard just to extract clean oxygen, and that leads to sneezing fits and pure exhaustion. The fix is so simple: the cracked window. Even on the absolutely coldest days, just cracking a window for a few minutes while the sun is out flushes the room with clean oxygen, revitalizes them, and hugely reduces respiratory fatigue. Now, stale air isn't the only hazard we're dealing with. We all love filling our homes with the smell of cinnamon, pine, and eucalyptus using candles and essential oil diffusers. But, biologically speaking, cats completely lack these specific liver enzymes required to break down the chemical compounds in these oils. When they inhale them, these invisible particles build up. So what smells like a winter wonderland to us is actively causing invisible lung irritation, liver damage, and allergic reactions in your cat. No way around it, it's dangerous. But hey, you don't have to give up a cozy aesthetic altogether. You just need to pivot a bit. The safest approach is to swap out those toxic scents for unscented soy or beeswax candles. They give off the exact same warm, inviting light without pumping harmful compounds into the air. Pair this with a high-quality, cat-safe air purifier. This ensures the vibe of your home stays cozy, but your cat's lungs stay clear and completely healthy. Section 3. The dehydration danger. So the crucial point is, when you run the heater constantly, it severely dries out the air. And because cats naturally have an incredibly low thirst drive, this dry air just continuously pulls moisture right out of their skin and lungs. On the outside, you might see almost nothing at first. Maybe they just visit the litter box a little less often. But hidden right beneath the surface, this chronic, low-grade dehydration results in thickened urine, intense strain on their kidneys, and really painful urinary tract infections. To combat this invisible threat, we need to deploy 3 low-effort, massive-impact hydration fixes. First up, run a humidifier in the rooms where your cat spends the majority of their time. Second, ditch that stagnant water bowl and place flowing water fountains around the house. Moving water heavily incentivizes them to take a drink. And third, like we mentioned, prioritize warm, wet food over dry kibble. Put these all together, and you actively protect their kidneys throughout those brutally dry months. Section 4. Mistaking pain for laziness. Cats are masters at hiding pain. That laziness might actually be arthritis. When we see our cats moving a bit slower, maybe sleeping in one spot all day long, we usually just smile and assume they're having a lazy winter day. But we really need to shatter that illusion. In the wild, showing pain makes a cat vulnerable to predators, so they have literally evolved to mask it flawlessly. When cold weather aggravates their joints, they don't cry out, they isolate. They curl up into a tight ball. What you perceive as cozy winter laziness is very often a defense mechanism against chronic pain. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is these are the subtle cries for help you actually need to watch for. If your cat is spending unusual amounts of time just sitting near the litter box, that's a massive red flag for urinary pain. If they're hesitating when they wake up or completely avoiding stairs they used to just run right up, that points directly to joint pain and arthritis. And if a normally super affectionate cat is suddenly hiding under beds, they're trying to protect an aching body. You absolutely must mentally check these specific behaviors against your own cat's normal routine. I know this information can feel a bit heavy, but the ultimate takeaway here is incredibly empowering. These mistakes we make, they entirely come from a place of love. But now that you're armed with this knowledge, you have the power to completely change their reality. By making these minor tweaks, monitoring food, filtering the air, adding a humidifier, and just watching out for those signs of pain, you become a deeply empathetic caregiver. These small adjustments can literally add healthy, happy years to your cat's life. I'll leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Next time you see your cat sleeping all day right next to a blazing heater, barely moving, breathing in that scented, super dry air, will you just see a cute, comforting winter scene? Or will you look a little closer and recognize a potential cry for help? Armed with this new understanding, I know for sure you'll be able to spot the difference. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today and taking the time to understand the world through your feline friend's eyes.